Hello everyone, this is John McCormick. I'm the Director of E-Learning Design, and I work with a group within ELIS, or E-Learning and Instructional Support at Leslie. This is a three-part video. This is the first part. The three parts in general are on blended teaching and learning strategies for 8-week face-to-face courses. This was delivered in a face-to-face format this past August 2017. Intended for Bunker Hill Community College 8-week courses, the accelerated courses where they meet once per week. So this is the agenda for all the three parts. We're going to do part one now, a little bit on the challenges of accelerated courses and principles of adult learning. Part two is on blended learning models. Part three is on strategies for using the online environment, including a technique called just-in-time teaching, and some general tips and strategies, and actually some tools as well. All of these parts will be about 5 to 7 minutes long, so choose the ones you think are applicable. So again, the first part, challenges and learning principles. Let's get right to it here. I recently asked these two questions of an audience, a face-to-face audience: what challenges have had you or your students had in these courses? And are you using the online environment? If so, how are you using the online environment in your face-to-face course? What successes and challenges have you had? So we talked about that a little bit. Right now, I want you to think about challenges that you have had or are having in these kinds of courses. And we'll look at a slide here that shows some of the challenges I heard, particular covering the amount of content we needed. Some of them missing the days would be more impactful when you're only meeting for 8 days during an entire 8-week term. Making the course equivalent to semester-based courses. Some of the things that I added, not necessarily all the instructors, but study skills of the students is something that could be an issue, more important in an 8-week course. Just in general, using the online environment, and then finally using the face-to-face environment efficiently, whether you're using the online environment or not. So I'm going to cover some learning principles. You can call these adult learning principles. These are ones that I selected that I think are particularly pertinent. Number one, connecting new content that you're presenting to learners' prior knowledge and also their interests, life experiences, and goals. Helping learners to construct knowledge. We'll talk about what that means, and actually all of these. Fostering interaction among peers and with the instructor. And finally, creating authentic learning activities and or assessment. Sometimes a learning activity can be an assessment, the same thing. So we'll talk about each one of those in turn for a minute or two. So the first one, in connecting new knowledge to learners' prior knowledge and so on. Knowledge building requires this connection. To learn new concepts, sometimes misconceptions need to be unlearned, as well as the new concepts being learned, new concepts or ideas, and that can be a challenge. So we're working with that with students to unlearn something before they learn a new concept, if that concept they have, that misconception, that concept is a misconception. And with adult learners in particular, connecting to their needs, interests, and goals increases motivation. Helping learners construct knowledge. We hear a lot. We hear this word, constructing knowledge, constructivism. What does it mean? So learners construct knowledge through active processing and making connections between ideas, concepts, skills, and so on. This happens very frequently through instructor or other types of modeling in the student's observation of that modeling, of a way of thinking, a way of performing or behaving, and also practicing that and then reflecting on that to cement that knowledge. So students in particular need models in how to think within your discipline. I think this is sometimes missing. So for example, how does one think like a historian? A historian thinks and performs differently than a layperson thinking about history, or a high school student, or even a high school teacher teaches about history. So what are those thinking skills? And when you think about the most important outcomes, those thinking skills and performing skills are more important perhaps than content coverage, content knowledge, or the broad sweep of knowledge. And finally, students need advice on how to study efficiently and deeply. I think this is something else that's often missing. Fostering interaction among peers and with an instructor. This increases motivation and can increase the student's sense of responsibility if designed carefully and intentionally in the course. Interaction with peers can help students process knowledge. In particular, goal-directed dialogue can be a powerful learning aid. An interaction with the instructor may be most important when considering the feedback to students that leads to revision of work and or thought, instead of, say, a final summative evaluation where they're getting a grade but aren't able to take that feedback and use it for a further product, another draft, and so on. And finally, creating authentic learning environments. So authentic learning environments, or they can be called, let's say, real-world learning tasks. And these aren't always appropriate, but as appropriate. They require an application of content knowledge, hopefully leading to deep understanding. Sometimes a failure to understand can create a learning opportunity, and this is where formative assessment helps. That idea of giving feedback on a draft, or giving feedback on partial work, or feedback on something that leads to another product or another activity. Practical application exercise, again, is appropriate or effective in motivating. And some subject areas, I understand, require creativity in considering what authenticity actually means. That might be hard to grab onto in some classes. For example, learning about the plays of Shakespeare. So, that's the end of the first section. And the next piece will be on blended learning models.